All right, so you'll see that I have a slab of clay right here. Not really using this for anything other than to show y'all what some of these tools, different tools do. I also have a little pinch pot. Let's go ahead and get started with these right here. So these are ribs. You'll see them different colors. They may be made out of plastic like these, or wood, or metal. But what we're going to use them for mainly is for smoothing out the clay. So you can use that if you have like a slab to smooth out the flat clay. We use them a lot on the wheel to get slip off of our pieces. But off the wheel hand building, usually just for smoothing out a slab. Okay, so those are ribs. The next tools I'm going to show you are going to be, these are the ones that are in the plastic or wooden and plastic tool container. So I just grabbed a few of them. These green ones and like this popsicle stick that have round edges right here, these you can kind of use as an extension of your finger. So let's say you have really long nails, or if you're working on a piece that is pretty deep and your finger won't reach to where you need to smooth out something, you can use these to smooth out those places and to help sculpt it. Especially when we're using slab, you'll use these tools to help connect joints together. So those are the popsicle stick, the green one. We have these small dowel rods, and then some of them are made out of old handles of paintbrushes, but these are really great tools for carving. Most people, when they begin ceramics and they think they're going to carve a design in something, they tend to want to grab a sharp tool, something super sharp. What this does is make a really fine, sharp line. It'll be deep, but not very wide. And because it's not very wide, they stick together in a lot of spots, and they just tend not to look that great. So instead of using these sharp tools to carve designs, these wooden rods, which are a little wider and they taper, are better. So these are going to make nicer, neater lines, and it'll be easier to clean these up without destroying them. Those sharp lines you barely touch them and then they kind of disappear in spots. The wooden rods are also really good for cleaning up pieces, getting in little like cracks and crevices, and I'll show you that later. Now, your best tool that you have, everyone has this one, or most everybody I guess has this tool already, is your finger. So when you can use your finger for something, like right now I'm smoothing out these edges right here, use it. It's your best tool, but all of these are for some of the stuff your fingers can't do. Okay, after wooden plastic tools, we do have our trimming tools. They'll have different loops, have different kind of shapes. And then also the actual loops on them, these are round, a lot of them are round. These are also round, they're just a lot thinner. And then these trimming tools are sharp. They kind of have a sharp edge to them. We use these a lot for trimming on the wheel, the sharp ones in particular. These you can use to carve out designs or textures designs also. So if I wanted to create, let's say like a texture of little short ovals like so, repeating on a piece, you could use this tool. I'll put that back together in a second. So these tools are not super new, kind of older, but we work with what we got. So this side that's not as sharp as this one was is making more of a circle shape versus like that kind of longer oval shape. So you can experiment with them and see which ones make what kind of shapes. So these are kind of carving out little circles, which is also neat. But anyway, those are the trimming tools, some things you can do with them. Thick, bold lines you can also get with these trimming tools, like so. And if you want to work on something that's not flat, you can always like kind of, as long as your piece is a little thicker, so let's pretend like this is a pinch pot with the walls thicker, you can use these trimming tools to actually shape your object, to carve off chunks. So big chunks at a time. Maybe if you want to make like a kind of geometric design, that's something else that you can do with these trimming tools. What I do as I'm going, I'm using the subtractive method for this first part. So these little pieces are getting carved out. Just kind of ball them up and keep them together. If they end up being really dry at the end of class, then you can put them in the recycle bin. If they're still nice and soft and we can use them, you can put them back with the clay. But we don't need to throw away any clay we don't need to. Okay, so that's the trimming tools. Now, you're not just limited to using tools that we have in the containers to make textures. A pencil is a great tool, especially if you want to make dots, repeating, kind of a stippling, but on clay. And all you have to do is just wash your pencil just like you would any other tool, and it'll be perfectly fine. These combs can create good textures. So if you want to do nice texture all at once, so you could drag it down like this, weave it in and out. You can even go sideways to get a good like cross hatching texture right here. We have combs. There are some roller things like this that you can use. Now, obviously, something like this where you're putting a lot of pressure on it, it works great if you're working on a flat slab. Anytime you're carving anything on a piece that's curved, you need to have one hand on the inside, on the opposite side of where you're carving. So if I was carving on this, let's say any tool, let's say if I want to do those like circle things out of the side of this, my fingers are on the opposite side, and that's going to help it from changing the shape of your piece. Even if your piece seems like pretty firm, still put your hand on the other side, because it will change its shape without you realizing it. Okay, so that's all subtractive methods of adding texture, adding stuff. I will show you the additive, and there's something that is ultra important for adding two pieces of clay together, which I have already talked about, but that is using slip. So slip right here are in these containers. It's a good reminder to shake well. So shake it, open it up, and then you can pour some into a little container like this. You don't need a lot depending on what you're doing. Whatever you don't use, you can always pour back at the end of class though. Okay, so I have my slip. I have this right here. So let's say I want to add some pieces like those little like mini bowl looking pieces. So I would form like a ball, pinch it to kind of make it that shape that I want to add to this piece. Remember, your fingers are your best tool when you're able to use them. Okay, so I have this nice shape I want to add straight to this clay. Like I said, you cannot just, most of the time, you can't stick it straight on and it be okay. That's going to end up falling off once this clay dries. So what we need to do is slip it and score it, or reverse that. Score it first, then slip. So I will get a sharp tool. You can use any sharp tool. You can also use a pencil, even, really anything. But the first thing you need to do to score it is just to add lines like this, kind of rough up that clay where it's going to attach to the other clay. So I do that to this piece. I'm also going to do that where I want it to go on this piece. So maybe I'll line it up and then think like, okay, right here seems like a good spot. I can see kind of where I put that. So I will score it here as well. Nice and rough texture. After I have both sides scored, you can use your finger to add slip. You can also use a paintbrush. So if you'd rather do that, you can get some and just dab it on like that in here. So when, that's why I've been calling it clay glue, because you put it, you think of it a lot like glue. Okay, so I will attach them and press gently like that. Now that I've scored it and slipped it, this, when it dries, will be nice and secure. Okay, so for your pieces, I want you to use both methods, carving out some textures and then also adding on textures to fill up the whole outside.